today, and today's presentation, I want to talk to you about a day trading strategy. Actually, that's been working very well in today's markets. Created this a little while ago specifically for all the volatility and everything else we've seen in these markets. We'll show you that strategy today and talk a bit about the state of the current markets. Let's get through this. Remember, trading can be extremely risky, so please don't trade with real money until you are completely comfortable with the system you are using. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Vince Vora. I'm the head trader here at Trading Wins, and I have been trading for 30 years. It's unbelievable how quickly time flies, but and that's me in the bottom right-hand corner here. And these are just some of the trades we've profiled recently for our members, and we'll talk about a lot more about that as we go through the presentation. But this is one of the strategies that we've developed. We've developed several of them, and they are used by retail traders such as you, as well as several hedge funds. Before I get started, I always like to ask one specific question. How many of you have seen me present at an event or a webinar such as this before? Please take a couple of seconds and just type in yes or no in your chat. I'd really appreciate it. Excellent. See a lot of new people in. There we go. I also see some familiar names. That's great. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us today. What I'm planning to cover today, I'm going to talk about the ideal markets, or at least the conditions for day trading, which I think will really help you, and also how you can take advantage of volatility. You know, usually volatility is something that for a swing trader or a longer-term investor, it can be quite scary, but for a day trader, it's actually a good opportunity. We'll also talk about risk and reward and really the keys behind this and how to use it. And then, of course, I'll share with you some golden rules for success. So even if you walk away with just a couple of these today, I think you'll walk away a better trader. Now, in today's markets, you know, things have been very, very tricky. And it's been challenging for most, regardless of the time frame that you trade. But when it comes to day trading, it can be even more challenging. Now, the good news is that not only is it possible to succeed as a day trader, but I can show you exactly how to do that. Okay. Now, there are some keys to this. I'll share with you 4 of them that I think are crucial when it comes to day trading. The first one being discipline. Now, when you're day trading, you really do have to be disciplined. I love this photo because no one is more disciplined than our armed forces, that's for sure. And if you're trading using daily, weekly, or monthly time frames, you have that luxury of studying your charts when the market is closed. And you can take your time, you can really dig in deep with your analysis. That's not the case with day trading. And when you're pressed for time, it can be very easy to overlook a rule and place a trade when you shouldn't. Okay, so what you need to do is have a plan in place ahead of time, along with a set of rules that simply won't allow you to fail. Focus is also extremely important when you're day trading. If there was ever a time that you should shut off your TV or your radio, it's when you're day trading. And what it's really all about is focusing on what the chart is telling you and reading that chart candle by candle. And we'll go through several examples today, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. The one thing that isn't different about day trading is that just like any other type of trading, it's all about minimizing risk. Okay, I love this chart because it really captures the essence of what you should focus on. You should always want to be in the bottom right quadrant here, right here. All right, but unfortunately, most people are in the top left, and some are way off that. But if you want to print this out, put it by your computer, by your screen, just as a reminder, I think it would be a great idea for you. Lastly, you always have to think strategically. And of course, you know, once you have a plan in place, this will eventually become second nature to you. If you build the right habits, you're going to be training on instinct, which is the way it should be done. How nice would it be to be able to think 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 or 4 moves ahead of the market? That's what this is all about. Okay? So do you think you can translate that into bigger gains for you? Absolutely, and that's the key, and hopefully by the end of this presentation I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Okay? So let's get started here. And there's going to be a lot of information I'm going to share in the next few slides. Don't worry about taking notes. It's important that you hear what I say. Okay, now first of all, I want to start off by asking one more poll question. How many of you have actually tried day trading before and failed? And please be honest, remember, I've been doing this for 30 years. I pretty much know the answer here, but it's great. Let's see. Well, many of you have tried it. Taz says I'll use a different word, it stinks. It doesn't have to. And I'll show you a method today that I think might change your mind with that. Luis says it is hard. He prefers swing trade. You know what? Absolutely. And that's many people's opinion when they first tried. And it's mainly because of the speed. Again, when you're swing trading, you have that luxury after the market to view things at your own pace, analyze, and take as much time for analysis as possible. When day trading, you simply don't have that luxury. So you really do need to have a plan that is very simple and easy to follow, and that the setups are very, very simple to spot on your chart. So thank you for that. I will show you that system in just a moment, okay? So one of the things that you can use here for the ideal market conditions, okay? One of the things you can use to confirm you're trading at the right time is multiple time frames. Okay? Does everyone know what I mean by multiple time frames? I'm going to bring up my charts here for a second, and I'm going to show you something that you can easily do here when you're trading with a multiple time frames. Most of you, I'm sure, would trade on a chart similar to this, where you basically have one time frame. Now, this is a chart of Netflix on a daily, but one of the easy things we can do is simply switch to a different view here, okay? And select, say, 4 charts at the same time. Here, and most charting packages will have this option, and you can go ahead and put on different time frames. So I like to follow, say, the 5-minute, the 15-minute chart, then the 60-minute down here, which is the 1 hour, and then, of course, the daily time frame. So that will give you a very clear view of just how this underlying stock or futures contract, forex pair, whatever it is you're following, is doing on the different time frames, and you can quickly spot whether or not they are in line or not. And so if they're all heading lower and in bearish territory, then it's clear that that's your next direction, and all you need to do is pinpoint the right time to get in a trade or not. So it's very simple and easy to do that. You can also put on different markets. So for example, if you're trading on Netflix, you want to see what the overall NASDAQ index is doing, what the Dow, the S&P are doing, you can throw those on there as well. So it's actually a very quick and easy thing to do. And also when you're day trading, if you want to follow multiple markets, like for example, you want to follow Netflix, Tesla, Amazon, Google at the same time, you can put one in each quadrant with the same time frame that you prefer to trade in, and it's actually very effective. Okay? Now, patience is also crucial, and you really have to let the trade come to you. You don't want to jump the gun, and this is actually much easier to do with day trading, because patience may only mean that you're waiting 15, 20 minutes maybe, rather than several days or even weeks. Okay? And this system I've come up with here will keep you very active. Now, one of the things that I can guarantee will cause you to fail will be trading on the news. It's a recipe for disaster. If you're watching CNBC, they make an announcement, I can guarantee you won't be the first to jump in on that trade. And I can tell you, I really can't tell you how many traders I've seen and watched blow up their accounts trading on news. So if you're paying attention to the charts instead of the news, you're going to catch that trade anyway, regardless of that news announcement. So focus on your charts and shut that TV off. It'll really help you. Now, when it comes to volatility on the longer time frames, as I mentioned earlier, it makes trading very difficult and risky. But when you're day trading, it equals opportunity. Okay? So what really is the best time to trade? And this is more about which times to avoid. right? And that's mainly the lunch hour. Now, it can also be viewed as an opportunity as well, okay? And I'll explain in a second, but that first half hour and the last half hour of the day are usually the busiest, and most often those are the time frames of the day that are dictated by the pros. That's where the heavy volume comes in, okay? But that lunch hour, usually there's a bit of a lull. When we get to the charts, I can show you that usually if you have, say, a market, let's say Netflix, for example, in the morning session was trading sharply higher, you'll notice that right around noon, it'll start consolidating sideways or pulling back a little, and then as soon as everyone comes back for lunch, that trend usually resumes, and there'll be another opportunity to the long side there afternoon. So it's a quiet period. It's a great time to go and have lunch for sure, but it's great to look and spot those opportunities that come out of that lunch hour, okay? Now, whether you're trading a stock, an option, a futures contract, a forex pair, always make sure that the spread between the bid and the ask is tight. Okay? You need to trade liquid instruments, and a wide spread is a telltale sign of an instrument that's not heavily traded. When you're day trading, that could be a real problem for you. Okay? Now, there are a few key things that you can use or do to ensure your success. Okay? It's all about risk and reward. One of them is using a minimum of 1 to 3 risk-reward ratio. Okay? There's a formula for everything. For example, if you lose $1 on every trade, but you make 3 on every winning trade, then even with a win rate of 50-50, you'll do very well. Okay? Now, before you put any trade on, you need to know your entry, your exit, and stop loss, or your exit strategy that you use. These are 3 key things. I'm sure many of you have heard this before, but it really is key, and I've seen so many traders that just don't take the time to do this and end up failing because of it, okay? It may seem like common sense, but again, most people don't do it. Now, order types may also seem like something basic, but let me ask you something. If Tesla starts to move up and you jump in, and as soon as your order gets filled, there's a power outage or your internet goes down, what are you going to do then? If Tesla turns around and starts moving against you, you need to have a way out of that trade, okay? So again, preparation is key, and a couple of things that you can do, right, is one, make sure you're working with a broker where you can call in a trade. So if something like that happens, you can pick up the phone and get yourself out of that order, okay? And one of the other things you can do, what I think is one of the best things you can do, is enter a bracket order, what's known as a bracket order, okay? Everyone know what I mean by that? Let me explain. Okay? When you get into an order, as soon as it gets filled, you'll be specifying these targets and sell areas ahead of time, but as soon as you get that order filled, the system will automatically enter an order at a sell target and a stop loss order at the same time, and then whichever one gets filled first, the other one will be canceled out immediately. So that if you run into that situation where your internet goes down and you can't access your orders, it doesn't matter. The orders are already with the exchange, and when you can log back in, you're going to find either that you made money or you got stopped out, but you won't be in danger of that order running away from you, okay? Now, there's a few things that will really help you become a better trader, and one of them is to track your trades, okay? This is how you build the right habits and become a consistently profitable trader. For you to become a specialist, you really have to do this the right way. You have to be focused and not scattered. And you should only be watching 1 to 5 charts max. Like I said before, if you put that screen up with four charts at the same time, that's plenty. You watch 4 different markets at the same time, and it's perfect. And if you have a couple of different monitors, you can put 4 of your favorite charts on one, and you can put the main indices or the internals on the other, and I think you'll be doing very well at that point. Okay. Now that I've given you the basic knowledge, let's get to the charts here, and let's spend some time on the charts. We've got plenty of time actually to go through this. So I want you to start throwing out some symbols for me, we can look at those and see how this would have done, okay? But I want to start off by explaining what you see here on my chart and how we work with this, okay? So here's a chart of Netflix. Now, again, we can use this on stocks, on Forex, on futures contracts. It really doesn't matter. I'll show you a few of each today. What you're seeing here are a couple of indicators that I use in almost every system that I have, and they are the 20-period simple moving average, which is the line in blue here, and we use that mainly to gauge momentum. When it comes to momentum, there's a couple of different ways to read it. One of them is by the slope of the price bars or the candlesticks. The other is to use that 20-period simple moving average because it pretty much draws that in for you, okay? So it's a great tool to use. The other tool I'm using here, or indicator I'm using, is the shaded area in the middle of the chart, and this is what is known as, and I'll do my best to pronounce it appropriately, it's the Ichimoku Kinko Hyo, I believe. Raul, my coaching coordinator, here's laughing at me as usual. This is usually an indicator that's used as a trading strategy in itself, and it's actually quite powerful. It is a very good indicator. We like to use it simply to help us identify trend and as support and resistance. So when you see the price action break from one side of the cloud to the other, it's an opportunity, and then if the other indicators line up, we jump all over it. So it's a key part of this strategy, and I would encourage you to use that. Now, the indicators you see at the bottom here are the ones that are actually going to dictate our entry, okay? And what we're going to be looking for on these charts is when the indicators at the bottom here are both trading or begin to trade either in positive territory or negative territory. In other words, if you look at the bottom one here, it's a histogram, and when it crosses, it goes from negative to positive, meaning it crosses above that zero line, okay? That is key, and that's what we're looking for. And then if the other indicator, the one above, is also above that zero line, as long as it's in positive territory, when this one turns positive, then we've got a setup bar, and we look for a long entry. On the flip side, if we go from positive to negative, meaning from above the zero line to below the zero line, and the one above is also below zero, it's also in negative territory, now we've got a setup to the downside or a short side, okay? So what we'll be looking for are a couple things. Number one, when you're working with the moving average here, the 20-period moving average and the Ichimoku cloud indicator, what you want to look for, what really gives you a heads up on the next direction of that particular stock, is how the moving average moves from one side of the cloud to the other. So when you see something like you do here in Netflix, when you see it sloping sharply lower and coming through that cloud, that's a heads up that there should be a sustained move in that direction. And we actually are headed in that direction right now, once again. Now this is the 5-minute chart, okay? This is a 5-minute chart. If we go to a daily chart here, remember this will work on any time frame as well, but we use it really for day trading. And you can see here, right here, Netflix went through that cloud with momentum. Okay? Now, once it does that, and you move from positive to negative, and right in here, hopefully you can all see that, there was a time where it had just briefly gone positive, then it went negative, and the one here above was also below that zero line. Okay? Boom. This was your setup bar right in here. So all you want to do once you've identified that setup bar is wait for a trade. In the case of a short trade, you want to wait for a trade below the low of that setup bar. Once you get it, boom, you're in short and off you go. Now we also use a separate indicator that dictates our exit that I do not have on here. I'll talk about that a little later. And it's an indicator that I don't think I've ever seen anyone else use it with the settings that we use. It's a very popular indicator, but we use it much differently than most. and it will not only keep you in that trade, but it'll get you out quickly if it starts to turn against you. So it's a very, very conservative exit strategy, okay? But it does capture many of these moves, like this one here. And so here, in this case here, here's that moving average. Starts to slope higher, coming through that cloud, and there's a nice, strong, bullish green bar here. And you can see that right here we went from negative to positive on the bottom indicator, and it was above zero on this one as well. So there's your setup bar, and off you go. Now, it may not look like a huge move, but for Netflix, a break of this high, which was right around 118.5 or so, you know, took us up to over 133. Doesn't mean we got out at the very top. We never will. We don't have a crystal ball, but that exit strategy will trail this very tightly and get you out as soon as it starts going against you, okay? So whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, here, beautiful setups along the way. The stronger the trend in place, the better this works. And once you're in here, okay, if you're more aggressive, what you can do is actually add in to that position on most pullbacks, because the top indicator here will typically come back and forth along that zero line many times, offering you many more opportunities to get in. But again, you have to make sure that both of these are on the same side of that zero line when you're taking those trades, okay? Here's a great opportunity. Remember I said that the Ichimoku cloud acts as support and resistance as well. So here you get a break above that cloud with price action. It comes back to retest it. And when it does, that 20 had started sloping higher. And right here was a nice turn. And here's where we went positive across the board on this setup bar, breaks that high, and off it goes, okay? But the beautiful part of this is that the hourly, the 15-minute, the 5-minute, they all work great with this, and it really doesn't matter which market you're actually trading in as well. I would personally focus off the trades that are near that cloud, okay, and that have momentum or that slope with that moving average at the same time and go positive. When you're far away from that cloud, unless, you know, and you have a flat sort of moving average, those are not your greatest setups. But you can see back here, when you're coming through it with momentum, or you have very sharp momentum on your side and you get that pullback and you get another setup, you know, it typically goes your way very, very quickly. Here's another one. I love these ones that are nice and just slowly grinding in that direction. They cross the cloud, you've got that momentum, everything goes positive, and it's just a nice, easy trade to manage. So many of you, I'm sure would like to see a stock that you've been trading or a Forex pair or so on. Please type in symbols. I'll try to go through a few with the time I have left, and we'll go through this. So let's see. Rosa was asking for Amazon. Let's have a look at Amazon, a very popular stock to be day trading. And although it is, you know, over $500 a share, it trades incredibly well in the lower time frames. And certainly for those of you who trade options, how many of you actually do trade options? Because this is something you can really leverage with that. So it wouldn't cost you that much to get into a day trade with those options, and but you can get a really nice run. Great. So Rosa does, Randy does, many of you do. Excellent. So as you can see here on Amazon, now this is the 1 hour. I love the 1 hour time frame, especially on stocks over $100. So keep that in mind. That's something you can walk away with. Go look at your charts when we're done here, and you'll see that stocks that trade over 100 on the hourly time frame tend to behave very, very nicely. And so here we go. We cross that cloud with sharp momentum, and we get a pullback. And then we go positive right in here. Everything goes positive right on this little red candle. We break the high of that candle. What happens? Boom, it explodes. Here's another pullback here. And this time it's this green bar. That's our setup. Now, you don't necessarily have to take every trade, obviously, and you can be selective. You don't have to trade the ones with long range setup bars, you can trade the ones with short. It won't matter though from an exit perspective. The other indicator that I will talk about will actually trail that trade very nicely and get you out only when it starts to go against you. So again, here on Amazon, we went from around the 567 mark up to a high of about 584, 585 before it started to pull back. Lewis wanted to have a look at Twitter. Let's have a look at Twitter. Now, Twitter is a very inexpensive stock. Okay, so let's look at lower time frames. Typically, the lower the price stock is, the higher the time frame you want to trade it in. It's usually when it behaves best. It's my experience. But some of them are heavily traded enough that they react very nicely as well. And here's Twitter. Here's a trade right in here. This is the 15-minute chart. We came through that cloud with strong momentum, a very strong slope lower. So that was our heads up that we were going to get a sustained move lower here. Okay. Then what we're waiting for is a pullback. And once we get that pullback, then we want to wait for both of these lower indicators to go negative at the same time. And when we do, that's the key. And then this was one of those situations here. Right in here, you can see that this was on the 19th around 11 a.m. And there's your setup bar, and that's what happened next. If we carry on, when we got through here, no, we weren't in positive territory here until we started to flatten out. And then this is the most recent gap here on Twitter off earnings, which was ugly, and it really hasn't done much since. Who else? Dan wanted to see NQ. Let's have a look at NQ, the NASDAQ futures. Here are the E-minis. Let's have a look. The NQs. Right back in here. Now, here's a real opportunity. Remember, look at those areas right around the cloud. Okay. Here you have coming through that cloud. What do you see in here? A big bearish engulfing setup. Here, those of you who trade candlesticks and recognize some of the patterns, if you add those to this, it'll make it even stronger. But here, you can see we went negative on both indicators below on that very bar. So all you'll be looking for is a trade below that low here, which we get on the next candle, and then off it went. A really nice trade there. Here was another one right in here once we got through that cloud. And again, you got to make sure both are lined up in positive territory. Let's try to get in a couple more here. CBS for Deborah. Let's look at CBS. If there's a particular time frame you want to look at, please let me know as well, because I know time frame you prefer to trade on. But again, this will work on any time frame. Let's give my chart a second to load up here on CBS. It's taking its sweet time for some reason. Let's give it a second. You know, recently, let's try a different one, see if I can refresh here. KMI. Let's have a look. Let me just refresh here for a second and see if we can get this back. There we go. Let's try this again. Let's try CBS again for Deborah, and then we'll go back to KMI for John. There we go. It looks like it's coming up now. Yep. Here it is. So here, Deborah, this is the 15-minute, and you can see that we had made this move above the cloud. We then retested it here. You look at that moving average. It was kind of flat throughout this process, and then suddenly it starts spiking higher coming through that cloud just as we're getting that pullback. And so right in here is where we get the two indicators turning positive. So this here is our setup bar. And you wait for a break of that high, and then off it goes there. Again, you want the most heavily traded issues that you can. But the other thing to look at is just in the price bars, okay, and how they react. For example, if you're looking at something and it's generally overlapping the cloud back and forth like that, it trades in a very narrow range, and so maybe 15 minutes isn't the best time frame. Maybe the hourly will show you better trends, and if you see that, then you want to focus on that time frame for that particular issue. Let's show a few Forex symbols. Here's the USD CAD for Terry here, and here's the hourly on that. There was a nice trade right in here. This one right here went negative. Here's a nice one right in here. Again, keep an eye on that cloud, the slope of that moving average, okay? And the time frame, again, doesn't matter. For those of you who might not be interested in day trading, I still encourage you to look at this for longer term trades. You can see here on the daily on the USD CAD that it took up until about right in here to signal along. But you can see we had come through that cloud with momentum and still had that momentum intact when it gave us that setup. And then, boy, went on a nice run. There's another pullback in here that gave us an entry, and most recently, the dip right in here. As soon as we crossed it with momentum, there was an entry, and there were a couple of more entries along the way. Randy wanted crude oil on a 5-minute. Let's have a look at crude oil. Let's look at crude, and let's switch to, well, you can see on the daily on crude, some really nice setups there. But let's go to 5-minute for Randy. Here, most recently, Randy was right in here, 1230. Both went positive right here. This was the setup bar. So your trigger would have been at the high of that bar right in here. Okay? And that's what it's done since. Nice move higher from there. So a great move there. Here's one coming through that cloud. Look, the key is that momentum. You want to trade with momentum. That's half the battle. There's that move through the cloud, and here's where they both go positive on this one, and you get a nice run. If we look back, there's setup in here, and then down here. The stronger that slope, the better. Let's try to fit in one more if we can. Andrew was asking for British pound, US dollar. Let's look at that. Sorry, that was an hourly, I believe. 1 hour time frame. Let's switch to the hourly here. Yeah, the hourly is for me, it's one of my favorite time frames. And you can see here that coming through that cloud. Now, we didn't really have a lot of momentum here on this one. So you might have skipped this entry right in here, but on that pullback, here's where it goes from negative to positive, right in here, and you catch that portion of it. Back in here, as soon as it crossed that cloud, we went negative on both, with slope in our favor, and boom, there was that move coming out of that cloud. Most recently here, we had this up move. And again, you would have skipped this one because of the slope, but right in here was another one. And some of these, you know, the exit strategy that I'm talking about would keep you in for more than one part of that move, but certainly you can decide when to scale out or when to add to your position and take advantage of those moves. But Andrew, there's another nice one on the hourly on that pair as well. Okay. So let's see what else can we. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla here. I saw that a few people were asking for Tesla, and this is Tesla on the 1 hour. Well, again, any stock over $100 on the 1 hour for me works very, very well. And you can see here a lot of times these ones that come through the cloud here, as long as they're giving you some type of candlestick pattern, like an engulfing pattern, for example, even without momentum, they can be some very strong trades here. But on each of these pullbacks, once they go positive, boom, there it is. And here's another nice one down in here and back in here. There's several. When you catch a trend like that, this is exactly what you want to look at. Okay, so you can see exactly how effective this can be, and again, it can be on any market, any time frame. Okay, but now let me tell you how you can take advantage of this. We've put together a fantastic package here for you. Just go to tradingwins.com/April. What we've done is put together a pro training course on this, and it's an on-demand recording you'll receive as soon as you place your order. And I go through the full system in complete detail from entry to exit, including the exit strategy. I give you those indicators, the specific settings that we have on there. The complete strategy is in that recording for you. And I'm going to also share my watch list that I use for day trading myself, along with my options trading plan. Many of you are trading options. I'm going to tell you exactly how I trade this with options, which stocks I use. It's been working really well. And in addition to the recording, we're going to throw in a 30-day membership for you as well. So I'll tell you briefly that this is where we provide our members with our trade alerts, and we also send out videos 5 times a week, every Sunday through Thursday evening, where we highlight those trades. We recap what the markets did that day, and also one of my favorite parts of that membership is the live weekly market chats that we have. We meet twice a week with our members, Monday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. We had our most recent one this morning, another great session. You get to come into our room and ask me any trading-related question you like. You get all of this for just $27. Again, it's tradingwins.com/April. Now, I do see that there are some questions. I think we still have a few minutes. I'm going to ask Raul, our coaching coordinator, to come in and give me a hand with these so we can get through as many as possible in the next couple of minutes. Let me just switch over the mic here for you. Raul?
Vince, really enjoyed your pronunciation of the Ichigo from Kinko.
Yeah, you always do.
Yes. Yes. I saw you struggling with it.
Yes.
I didn't want to say anything. Day trading strategy. When you hear the word day trading, you generally think risk.
Right.
How do you get around that?
You know, there's always risk in the markets, but that's the difference here, is you need a plan. Obviously, even before you get into a trade, you need to know exactly how you're going to handle that trade. This is something very quick and easy to spot, because speed also matters when it comes to day trading, but it's very safe. That exit strategy that I share with you will get you out of there the second it starts going against you. It's a very conservative exit strategy. I'm extremely conservative myself, so this is something very safe, even though usually day trading can be risky. If you do it the right way with the right tools, it can actually be not only effective but very safe.
I know your your whole goal in life is to trade safely.
Absolutely.
And that's what you teach in this course that we usually do sell on our store for $149.
Right.
Today it's $27. You do get 30 days of our membership as well. Marina is asking, what type of account size do I need to have to be able to use this strategy?
That's the beautiful part. You don't need a big account at all, and especially if you're trading options. Just a few $100s is enough to get started with. Even if you're trading just one contract, it's more than doable, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can actually grow that small account. The key, though, is to trade safely. That really is it. So you do need a system to follow. A proven system, and in this course I'm going to show you exactly how to do that.
Marianne's asking, is there a phone number where she can call to place her order? There is. It's 1-888-574-2426. We'll put that in the chat. And the link to join is tradingwins.com/April. It's a beautiful month of April. We were just chatting earlier today. I can't believe 4 months,
almost at the end, yeah.
4 months of the trading year are done.
I know.
When did you design this strategy at this time?
Was it February? I think it was late January or early Feb, I believe it was, right?
For designing this strategy?
Yeah.
No, it was March.
Was it?
Yes.
March, yeah.
The markets have obviously been very, very challenging.
They have, and I've been walking our members through this the whole way through, but the real reason I designed this is it was really challenging for a lot of people on the daily time frame, and I was noticing there, because of the volatility, there's another difficult word for me to say, there were many opportunities in the lower time frame. So I wanted to give our members something that they could use immediately to help the challenging market. And I think this can actually do that for all of you. I wish we had more time to go through these charts, but when you watch that course, you'll understand exactly when the right time to trade is and when it isn't, and exactly the type of opportunities to look for.
Julie asked an excellent question. She says, what type of option alerts do you provide? So in our nightly videos, Julie, what you'll get is Vince will profile each trade, and then if there's an option strategy that's attached to it, I'll let you finish that thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We go through that, and just like in this course, I'll tell you which option strike or which option expiration month to select, or weekly in this case, and the kind of delta you're looking for, all of that, and exactly how I would trade this with options. But the key here is for you to become a better trader. That's what it's all about. So a key part of this is not just taking the strategy and walking away, but being able to follow up, ask questions, and make sure you truly understand this. That's where those follow-up sessions come in. That's where the live market chats, which are part of your membership here, help immensely, I think, and we've been having some great sessions.
Just got a couple of minutes left. Dan says, Vince, I have bought your courses in the past at $27. This was a no-brainer. Just ordered it.
Thank you.
Dan, your question about when you'll be receiving the course, it's going to be within the next 30 minutes. You'll have it, and you'll be able to watch it today, and probably even execute a trade before end of market, before market close today. So we're always excited. You know, you always talk about getting value for your money.
Well, I mean, honestly, we're giving it away. I mean, we always try to do something special for the Investor Inspiration events because they're a great partner. They've done so much for us, and we always want to do something special for the guests on the show. But really, this is more to give you a bit of exposure to Trading Winds and show you exactly what we do here on a daily basis. We're very proud of it, and we want you to become part of our family.
Mark says, do I need to have a specific trading platform to be able to use these strategies?
No. The indicators we use are widely available on most platforms. You don't need expensive software. Any of the trading packages will do.
Is there a way to run a scan for these trades? We can talk more about that when we get to that stage. Vince, can you recap the offer one time before we sign off?
Sure. So for just $27, you're going to get the full recording of our pro class on this strategy, which includes everything from entry to exit. And also, during that session, I will tell you, I will share with you my watch list that I use, my option trading plan. You get 30 days of our pro membership, which includes our actual trade ideas, our videos, market recaps, and our live market sessions. So during your 30 days, you'll get 8 of those live sessions in here. Everything for $27. Just go to tradingwinds.com/April.